there, YouTube? I'm back again today for another game review. Today I'm very excited to check out Blank from the Creativity Hub. This is for 2 to 6 players, ages 6+. It'll take about 10 minutes to play, and Blank is the game that lets you make it your own game. Blank is a legacy-style game where you will be physically taking a pen or a marker and writing on cards, and what you write on those cards will permanently impact each and every game from that point forward. It is an Uno-esque game at the start. It's got some silly stuff where you'll be talking slowly or talking in crazy voices or doing things fast or doing things slow, but as you progressively modify the game, it can have more party aspects, it can have more strategy aspects, it can have more of this, it can have more of that. It really is up to you. It tries to do everything for everyone, but does it succeed? Let's open it up and I'll tell you what I think. Alrighty then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Blank. Before we do that, I do want to mention this is a review copy. It is not the final product. I don't know exactly what that means or what that entails, but I will be keeping this version of the game, spoiler alert, but expect there to be minor differences here or there. So first and foremost, we're in our handy dandy rule booklet. It's one big long fold out page. It's very well done. It should have you up and running in no time at all. And this back part is just about writing new rules in this game and writing new effects in this game. Because Blank is a very interesting game and is a legacy game, which means as you play the game is going to change slowly but surely over time. As you can see, for example, in the rules row up here, I have a card that was created by a girl in my classroom named Dakota. Like, this is an actual card that she contributed to this game, and this card will be in the game for as long as I have this game. Also, some of the effect cards will be in the game for as long as I have the game. For instance, this one has my name on it because I created this. At its core, it's a Uno-esque game, but you really can modify the game to be played in whichever way you see fit. It could be a party game, a trivia game, a family game, a strategy game. And I read that all off the back of the box, but it's actually kind of true, except for maybe that strategy part. But let's go over the components, then let's get into the gameplay, and you'll quickly understand how the game works, because it is very akin to like Uno, but with some specific rules. So up top, you're going to have the rules row, and when you play the game, you're going to have 3 rules that will be in place. Most of the time, they'll be in place for the entire game, but there are cards that will change that. You want to make sure you have rules that actually have things written on them, because a lot of them will be blank until, people fill them in. So for this particular game, if a blue card is played, the player with the least cards in hand must cover one eye like a pirate until their next turn. If they don't do that, then they will suffer a penalty. That's when you have to draw a card into your hand, because the end game, the goal of the game is to get rid of all the cards in your hand. If you can get rid of all the cards in your hand, you will win the game. There's lots of different ways you can get penalties. Next, this one, if you lay down a pink, discard up to 2 blue cards to the bottom of the pile. So that one actually has a little bit of strategy there on when you play cards. I was actually very impressed with her for coming up with that card. This one, if a red card is played, all players must put a finger on their nose. The last one draws a card. So that one's pretty fun. That's pretty silly. Somebody plays a red card, boom, put that finger up on your nose. I'll give you some examples of some other ones. If a pink is played, the next player must moo like a cow. If they don't, then they suffer a penalty. If a 4 is played, discard a rule card and draw a new one. That one's pretty frantic. If an odd numbered card is played, the previous player must name the color of the played card. If a player says another player's name, the player who said the name must draw 2 cards, so you can't say names. If you play a purple, you lose 2 turns. Thanks, Amaya. I hate that rule, but it really does change how you play purples. If a 6 is played, the player may take the top card from the discard pile. You get it, but as you can see, there's also tons and tons of blank cards where you will be able to create your own new rules. But these are the 3 rules that are going to be in play for the entire game. Next, everyone's going to get 7 of these cards right here. And these cards are most importantly going to have colors, and they're going to have numbers on them, because as I mentioned, it does have an Uno-esque aspect. You'll also notice that they all have spots for text and spots for pictures. That's because as you progressively play the game, more of the cards will start to look like this, and they will have effects. So as the game gets played more and more, there will be more effects out there in the game. So for instance, Mirror Mirror, play this card instead of receiving a penalty. The player who called the penalty must take 1 card instead, because how this works is you take a penalty when other people notice that you are not following a rule or you did not do something. But as you can see, I filled this one in. This card counts as a 4 or a 3, so it can be any card you want. So nothing too fancy, but little things like that. Keep this card displayed in front of you. You can now ignore all game effect cards, because some of the game effect cards are super stinking annoying, like the one that makes you talk really, really slow. But that's what you're going to get in this deck. So next, each player is going to get 7 cards to start off the game, and then you're going to put 1 card over to be the first discard. And on your turn, you have really 2 options most of the time. First option is you can play as many cards as you want down, but here's the rules on playing cards. You have to match the color, or you have to match the number. So I could put 3 reds, but I could not put 3 reds and a pink 6, because then it has to be either or. So for instance, looking at my hand, I really only have 1 option here, which, oh, actually, this is kind of a great option. I can play all 3 of these 6s, and I want to make sure that I'm not going to trigger anything. So if a blue is played, if a red is played. Now, if I put this blue on top, that would trigger this action. But right now, you know what? I don't. Oh, if you lay a pink, you may discard up to 2 blues to the bottom of the pile. Holy moly, thanks, Dakota. So that's a fantastic play for me. So I now obviously want to play this pink, because when I play this pink, the pink is the only card that takes effect, but now I can put 2 blue cards at the bottom of the pile, which, holy moly, I've just taken a huge lead in this game, but that does mean other people are definitely going to be looking to see if I commit penalties. So let's just draw this guy up to a hand of 7 and see what he's going to do. So he can play pink, or he can play 6s. He's got 2 green 6s. He's got a pink right there. So you know what? He'll probably play these 2 green 6s right here. And boom, it would go on to the next player. And that's what you're going to do on your turn. You are just going to be playing and playing and playing. But as you progressively go through the game, more of these cards will come up, and they will change small, subtle things about the game. Sometimes they're small and subtle. For instance, this one, I love this card. The Final Countdown. You will have 2 minutes to finish the game. Players with the fewest card wins. So this one is fast, it's frantic, it's hectic, which really doesn't work too well, for instance, with this guy. Choose a player. The player must talk/act very slowly until the end of the game, or else people will call penalties on them. But as you can see, that's what you're going to do. It's a very simple game at its core, but there's lots of other things. Now, it does say you can make this into a trivia game, and I want to show you some of those cards because I really like those cards. So if an orange is played, the next player must name a city. No repeat. So every time you play an orange, you have to play a city. You might do that with countries. This one is doing it with animals, so you really can modify the game how you want to. Now, if you win, what you get to do is you get the option to either modify an effect card or make a rule card. So, for instance, if I won the game, I would actually physically take a pen and I would write either here or here on one of these cards what I want the effect to be. So, you know, this green 6 might also be a wild color. So this 6 can be played as any color or something like that. The king 6, I don't know. Or I could make a rule. And as I mentioned, the back of the rules have a whole bunch of helpful hints that you can use so the kids in your classroom, if you have a classroom, won't make pinks lose you 2 turns. Oh, stupid card. But anywho, that's what you're going to do inside of Blank. Alrighty then, Blank from the Creativity Hub. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the con side, game's not going to be for everybody for a variety of different reasons. At its core, it's an incredibly simple Uno-esque game. It takes about 10 minutes to play, and I'd say that's just about right. Even at the higher player counts, you're probably not going to be going past 20 minutes. And that's going to be a big turnoff to some people. Now, you can modify the rules to make it more like a party game, or more like a this game, or more like a that game. And it says you can make it more like a strategy game. However, I don't know about that. I still definitely feel like this is going to fall primarily in the party game crowd, in the family game crowd, in the children's game crowd, and not much else crossing over into the strategy game crowd, which is unfortunate because I honestly feel like I could give this a Bauer's Best seal if I felt like this would be a rock solid lightweight filler game to play, but I just don't feel like that. Now, if you have a lighter gaming group, then yes, I think this can go over as a filler weight game. But for me personally, this is not something I'm ever going to bring out to my game night. Continuing on with the cons, some of the cards you're just not going to like the one that make you talk slowly or you get penalties. And if you don't do that, then you're going to lose the game. Just period. Those penalties can amount. So you have to make sure you have the right group to play this game, the kind of group that is going to actively want to be a little bit silly. And that's another con that I have of this game. If you're someone who doesn't like to draw attention to yourself or do silly things from time to time, then this one might not be for you. Another comment I have of this game, it says ages 6+. Some of those cards are going to be a little bit difficult. In particular, you saw the one where they had to name cities. That's going to be incredibly difficult for a 6-year-old. You can easily replace the rule, though, so it's not a huge deal, but it is something that I did want to mention. Some people are going to cringe at the legacy aspect of the game, physically writing on cards, but whatever. That's what I got on the con side. You got to know it's light. You got to know it's simple. You got to know that this is a family weight / party game. But moving on to the pros, Blank is absolutely freaking fantastic. And if I could bring it out to my game night, I would give it a Bauer's Best Seal. That's how much I like this game. I want 2 copies of this game. I'm going to keep this copy, but I would eventually like to get a copy of my own to play specifically with my family, because this game, and I've only said this about 2 other games in my entire reviewing career. This is a game that I like to call an heirloom game. That means that it's the kind of game that when you get rid of it, someone in your family will generally want this game. Someone that you play with quite frequently will generally want this game. The other 2 were Tumbling Dice and Crokinole, which are 2 large wooden games. This is a simple card game, but why is this an heirloom game? Because you are going to make memories as you play this game, and people will want to win this game so they can make their own rules. And let me tell you, when kids see their rule or their effect coming into play in the game, they think that is the coolest freaking thing in the world. And I can't say they're wrong. I personally love when my cards come up too. And it's really fun coming up with different cards for the game and having to change your strategy somewhat based on what cards are out there. For instance, you saw the girl in my class who made the card that said, whenever you play a pink card, you lose 2 turns. That will drastically change how you play the game. So she has put a card into the game that changes how we play the game. And I like that. But at the same time, that means that I might make like that king card, that king 6, where I can use this particular pink card as any color that I want it to be, to kind of offset that rule, which might be slightly OP in my personal opinion. But that's a really cool concept. This is the legacy game that I've been waiting for, to be honest with you. I have not played Seafall, but I've played, we didn't play test this anyway. We didn't play test this, the legacy game, and I like that, but it was still just, it was okay. It was good to okay. And I played Pandemic Legacy. It was not for me, but this is the legacy game I want. It's light, it's simple, it's easy to learn, it's easy to teach. It's a great party game. I think you could make this into a great trivia game. I really think you could make this into a great kids game. You could have silly rules, whatever you want. This is outstanding. If you are in the market for a party game, get this game. This is an early contention for my party game of the year. Just hands down. Not my party game of the year. My family game of the year. Blank is outstanding if you plan on playing it with your family. If you plan on playing it as a party, a little bit less so, but it's still going to go over really cool, and I think people will like making the rules into the game. But in the end, Blank, make it your own game. I absolutely love this game. I hope this game gets into like Walmart or Target, because I could see this game just shooting the moon. I could see this game being the kind of game that people play at family get-togethers year after year after year after year after year, and it just continues to slowly and gradually change, and I like that an awful lot. This is such a stinking cool concept. If you're in the market for a family game, look no further. I wholeheartedly recommend Blank. It's great. Party game, if you host parties quite frequently, same thing. The only real comment I have with this game is the fact that it's not a gamery game. So despite the fact that it says you can make it a strategy game, I really don't see that too much. But in the end, Blank, make it your own game. Creativity Hub, yes, yes, yes. One of my favorite games of the year, probably in early lead for my favorite family weight game of the year. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below. In the comments below, let me know legacy-esque games, yay or nay. For me personally, yay. I love that concept of legacy aspect games. Even if they're the kind of game where once I'm done with them, I just toss them out. Now, granted, I come at it from a completely different perspective because I play so many games and I review so many games. But let me know in the comments below. Legacy style games. We're about 2 or 3 years into them. Yay or nay? And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.